Good afternoon, everyone. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of Tea Time Tuesday here at the Renewal Center. We are jump-starting May. We're so excited to see everyone. I see Monique out there. I see Aretha out there. Hello, everyone. Yes, it's good to see the thumbs up and the hearts. We're so glad that you're joining us. All tea timers, we just want to invite you to invite some other people to come join us tonight as we are moving forward in the month of May to just bring renewal practices to everyone. We want you to like and share. Also, we're streaming live over there on YouTube like we always do. We want to get some viewers over there as well to join in on the conversation and our dialogue tonight. And so we are so excited. We're excited that we are in the month of May. You know, the month of May is National Teacher Appreciation Week. Well, we're kicking off the first week in the month of May, and that's National Teacher Appreciation Week. Teacher Appreciation Week, we want to say thank you to all of our teachers, all of our educators, all of those that are working in the school system. We appreciate all that you do and the work that you provide for all of our students. So we want to thank a teacher today. So if you get an opportunity, thank a teacher for all that they are doing in the classroom. They work very hard, and we want to say thank you from the Renewal Center to you. Hello, Daphne. It's good to see you too. And so also, you know, the month of May is bringing us National Mental Health Awareness Month. And just we're segueing from Stress Awareness Month last month into May, Mental Health Awareness Month. And Mental Health Awareness Month brings us awareness of the mental different things that are going on in wellness around the world. We want to prompt ourselves to examine what's outside the world around us and how that affects our overall health and how it affects our well-being. We want to improve our mental health and our well-being, right? And that's what mental health awareness is all about. So we'll be bringing some strategies and some information on mental health awareness and how we can move forward in becoming better in mental health. And so, yes, thank you so much, Monique. I see the thumbs up out there. Thank you for the engagement. Okay, so we're going to move forward tonight with our tea of the week. We're recycling teas. Our tea of the week is fig tea. It's an herbal tea that's made from dried figs or fig tree leaves. Kind of originates from the Mediterranean. And we steep it and, all those things together with green tea and come up with a pretty nice tea, fig tea. It's said to have a butterscotch taste. Now, I haven't had fig tea, so I don't know. I mean, I've had it in other things, but I don't know how that really tastes. So you guys let us know if you like fig tea out there, and possibly we might be able to get some at the Renewal Center and share it with others. Hello, Nichelle. It's good to see you. And so as we always do, we're going to take some time for us to settle down from a busy day and locate ourselves. And so Hope is going to lead us in. Thank you, Monique. Yes, it is good flavor. Hello, Charlisa. Hope is going to lead us in a time. Hello, Renita, my sister. We're going to move forward in our locating ourselves at this time. So if you want to just take a minute and relax yourself, she's going to segue us in.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tea Time Tuesdays. I'm just excited to be here with all of you. And as we do here on every tea time, we like to take a moment to locate ourselves after such a busy day, just to be able to settle ourselves down, take a moment to breathe, and just take a moment to center ourselves and get our thoughts in order. So we're just going to take that moment, and all people that are new to Tea Time, welcome. This is our locate yourself. So just going to take a moment if you just can sit straight up and kind of maybe just relax your shoulders and just begin to breathe in and out with breathing motions in and out. We're just going to take a little time to locate ourselves. Just a few more moments. A few more breaths in and out. All right. Doesn't that feel great? An opportunity to just locate ourselves and just take that moment to just be centered. We feel peaceful now, and we can be able to move on with our Tea Time Tuesdays. And I hope that you all have your journals ready and you have your pen, and that you're ready to be a part of this great session that we have tonight. So, gonna turn it over to our executive director, Patrick Brown.
Thank you, Hope. Thank you, Carmela. This is good. So good to see everyone. Please share with us your tea of choice this evening. You should be sipping your tea. So I'd like to hear from you what your tea of choice is this evening. I don't have tea, I have some coffee. But if you have some tea, share with us. Very good grounding exercise and locating yourself. So good to have everyone on. Hello, Nicole. Good to have you on as well. Hey, Kevin. Good to see you. Hello, hello. Good to see you, Kevin. So good to have you on. Let's see the tea of choice. Let's see blueberry tea.
Ooh,
Okay,
good.
green tea with fruit. Okay,
Mhm.
peach tea from the south. All right, all right. Anybody else? Carmela, what you got over there? Hope, what you got over there?
I got tangerine and green.
Tangerine and what? Green tea.
Green. Uh-huh.
Okay. All right, all right. Hope,
Yeah. I have ginger with lemon.
ginger with lemon. All
Hmm.
right. Let's see what else we got here. We got two blueberries this evening. Cole has blueberry as well. Oh, blueberry coffee. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have blueberry tea and blueberry coffee.
Go
Malik
ahead.
has black tea, iced tea. Good evening for a good iced drink as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? What's your tea of choice this evening? I so love this time of grounding. It's so refreshing for me. Daphne also has, listen, Daphne says, herbal tea, boost tea, ginger taste. All
Okay.
right.
All
All
right.
right. And Michelle says she has ordered her RC mug. Awesome. Awesome.
All
All
right.
right. Well, this is excellent that the energy that we have this evening of refreshing and relaxing the beginning of May, where we're talking about mental health awareness. And one of the key things I'd like to know, we haven't had a chance to finish this for this year, but we're coming up with a tea time journal. We're taking our time, but at some point, we would love to engage in a tea time journal where you can take your notes and our renewal practices. So, how many of y'all would be interested in a tea time journal, an RC tea time journal? Love to hear from you on that. So, this evening, I'm going to focus our tea time renewal practice this evening is around recovering from failure. So I was like, oh my gosh, what type of renewal practice? Well, that was important And the idea, as I begin to think about mental health awareness and I thought about our emotional states and our mindset and state of mind, when we're walking through different scenarios where it's like, how do I recover from this, or how do I rebound from a failure or rebound from mistakes? And so our renewal practice this evening is centered around that particular subject. But before we go forward, I want to get your idea on what is failure design? Like, what's your description of failure? Or what's your definition of failure? And describe, perhaps in your life, what failure may look like. Just it's interesting to kind of get a common ground or a definition behind that. So let us know your thoughts on that, as far as how would you define failure in practicality? And then what does that look like in your life, perhaps? And so we're going to open up for some dialogue this evening and also some engagement around the subject. And as you're doing that, we'll be able to share a little bit more. Oh, somebody else is coming in. Hello, is that Antonia?
It's
All right, good evening. All right, Tony. Okay. All right, hello. Good to have you on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good to have you. All right. So anybody else, please share with us your thoughts and ideas on perhaps describing what failure looks like in your life, or your definition of failure. And we're going to dive into that. All right, Tony's jumping in already. Not achieving your goals. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else, your thoughts on failure, what it potentially maybe looks like in your life, or a definition? Oh, yes, I will call you Tony. Thank you so much. All right, pleased to meet you, Tony. All right. Hope or Carmela, any thoughts on failure, or descriptions or definitions?
Well, when I think of failure, I think about, in all honesty, when you feel like, and I'm talking about me over the years, when you feel like you didn't meet an expectation of yourself or somebody else. That's what I feel failure feels like. When I don't make that, when I didn't make the expectation of myself, maybe there was a bar set for myself or something, or somebody else. Maybe it's a test I was supposed to take and didn't pass it. And, so that's what failure, I would say.
Thank you.
My definition.
Good. Okay. Hope, any thoughts on that?
I would like to add to what Carmela said, of course, just not meeting, a certain expectation or other expectations, as well as failure from a viewpoint of how I view my life. Maybe I'm not in a certain place that I thought I would be in by the time that, at a specific time in your life, on your journey or whatever. And so sometimes I can feel failure from that I'm not where I think I should be at a particular time in my life. So I would say that as well.
All right, thank you. Let's hear from the audience here. Anybody, please share with us your thoughts. Love to hear from you. Nicole says, failure to me is not reaching your full potential when you know you can. Thank you for sharing that. Renita, hey sis, how you doing this evening? I know you got a few more days left. Happy Teacher Appreciation. Are you ready to get out of that school? A feeling of defeat.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for sharing that. Monique says, when you are not living up to certain expectations. Anybody else? We'd love to hear from you. Describe for us perhaps what failure looks like in your life, or your definition of failure as well. I like us to really hone in on that, because I think we've got different definitions, different perspectives, but I think we all at some point in our lives have experienced some measure of failure in some way, some form or fashion. We've experienced it. And I think this is important that we look at this subject from a perspective of how perhaps failure may impact how we feel and what we think about ourselves, and how we respond to that as well. Michelle says, failure for me is not passing a test, whether academically or personally. Thank you for sharing that. Charlisa says, just falling short of a defined standard expectation. So I think we all have different, a common theme that we're seeing here, falling short or not meeting something. But so now let's talk about how you feel when you fail. Like, how do you now feel, or what do you think about yourself? All right. Emotions and thoughts are chemical. So we respond a particular way when we experience failure. Now, based upon your definition, what are your thoughts about yourself, or how do you feel when you experience failure? That's the second question. So we've defined it and described it. Now let's talk through this as it relates to how I feel, or potentially what I think when I'm in failure. All right, Tony shares with us as well, says, when I'm inconsistent with parenting. Okay, thank you for sharing that, Tony. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Thoughts on that? What do you think, and how do you feel? We need to cover both, because sometimes we have emotions towards it, and then other times we have ideas or thoughts, and I think they're both are important that we document those. So as those thoughts are coming in, then we will experience that. Nicole says she feels disappointed. Thank you so much for sharing that. Carmelo or Hope, if you want to chime in and share, go right ahead as we're talking as well.
I would say my feelings surrounding that is, in the past or in times past, experiencing could be feel like you're letting yourself down.
Mm-hmm.
You're letting yourself down. And then, part of that is feeling like you're stopped in your tracks
Mm-hmm.
emotionally at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh gosh, and you're thinking about it, you feel a little stagnated. And then, the thoughts come, oh God, I've let myself down, or something like that, because it didn't meet the expectation.
Yes, good points. Thank you. Hope any thoughts on that?
I would just say, from a standpoint for me, like disappointment, even at sometimes, maybe even sometimes anger, a little bit, anger towards myself as well.
Thank you for sharing that. We've got some other points coming in. I think people are definitely sharing. I feel ashamed, defeated, disappointed. I'm displeased with my results, but I have a mindset of get back up and try again, because now I have a learning curve under my belt.
Yes.
Thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. Monique says feelings of sadness and self-disappointment. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? Your thoughts on that? Renita says, I feel disappointed. If it's a repetitive failure, I feel irritated and frustrated. So these are all, thank you everyone for sharing your perspectives and for the vulnerability that's here and the transparency that's taking place in our renewal practice this evening. So as we talked about it, we opened up sharing about what is failure, when we defined it and described it. Because again, a definition and a description are two different things. And it's important that we understand that. And so that's important. And then we just answered the question about what we think and how we feel, which those are both important as well, that we are able to have that pendulum. All right. Because sometimes we have thoughts and we may not have an emotion at the time. You might have an emotion at the time, and may not have a thought at the time. Because you know how thoughts are. You might be in the middle of something and here comes that thought. And it's like, So, we need to address the thought as well as how we feel. All right. Charlisa says, I feel disappointed in not meeting the standard expectations, but I see it as a coming short. So to me, I'm close to it. There's still time to get it right. Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that as well. So I want to provide us with some renewal practices, but I'd like to address our thoughts and our emotions around the pain of failure and mistakes, that many times is an indicator, an informer, or it's an inspirer. So these are three things I want you to consider as we begin our renewal practice. Is pain, or the emotion behind this, as an indicator that perhaps in my failure, I see it as an indicator of something that may be wrong, something that may be out of order, something I need to learn, something I need to change. So it's an indicator that something is there. If you've ever jammed your finger playing basketball or volleyball or something, you jam it, it's an indicator. Something's out of order, or something is disjointed, or so there are times where it's an indicator. It simply just indicates the state. This is without judgment, right? This is without condemnation. It's just an indicator. Just like if you don't drink enough water, your skin indicates you need to drink some more water or hydrate yourself. It's not a judgment call, right? It's not a condemnation issue. It's simply an indicator, or it is a message about where you are. So I want us to think about it from that perspective. So that's number one. So everybody think about that. It as an indicator. Secondly, the pain or the fallout could be, it's an informer. It simply just gives you information. And I want us to put no value on it right now. It's just an informer that is letting me know something. So one's an indicator when we've experienced the pain of failure or the fallout from failure or the fruit of failure or the result of failure. So it's an indicator, and on one end, it's an informer.
Right.
And then the third part is also an inspirer. An inspirer. So I want us to think about these three areas as our introduction on how we rebound, how we respawn, how we react, how we recover from the setback or the impact of failure. Woo, I think everybody needs to drink some tea on that intro.
I like that.
All right, let's go ahead and because I hope we may need to go back to locate yourself on this one. So all right.
Maybe.
All right. Let's take our time with this.
Yeah.
I hope this is an okay subject, tea timers. All right. I hope this is okay. All right. So let's think through this, and I'd love to hear from everyone about that. I'm going to bring that up one more time so we can just take a good look at that, and let's locate ourselves with these three areas. Can we do that if that's okay? Just as a quick reflection. Now, at the center of this image, what do you see? Oh, Mel, what's there?
A tree.
Tree with roots.
So pretty roots, right? What else you see? Got trunk, there's leaves, growth.
Yeah.
So all of this is growth. At the center of everything, it's about growth. Indicator is growing. Information, that's growing. Inspiration, that's growing. So I want us to think about this as a growth opportunity in every aspect of who we are on the inside, internally, and it reflects externally. So let's locate ourselves real quick. How is failure in your life an indicator? How is failure in your life an informer? And how is failure in your life an inspirer? I'm just going to sit back and drink mine. And anybody else want to go ahead and chime in, tea timers? Let's answer these questions and let's build some resilience in our discussion this evening. Y'all speeches over there? Okay. Which is good. I just want us to locate ourselves on that. So, all right, now let's go to our first few principles. I've got a few points of our renewal practice this evening. We're going to take our time with this so that we can really dig into this. So let's first of all, and I want you to think about this from a perspective of your team. Perhaps you're a team member, you're a leader, you're a supervisor, you're an individual contributor, you're working with others. Let's create a culture of sharing success and failure. That's one way we can really recover, is by creating a culture, which would means our practices and our perspective of sharing success and failures as well. And one of the reasons why I wanted to share this as a first renewal practice is we need to be very clear about the fact that, as we celebrate success, let's also examine our success. Because a lot of times we'll immediately go to, well, why did I fail? We do that, right? But how many times do we say, why did I succeed?
That's right.
It's good, yeah.
A lot of times we immediately just go to, well, why did I fail? And I made a mistake. And, we get on ourselves. But we rarely ask the question, why do I succeed? Or why did I succeed? So I think that there's a lot we can extract, as you would say, Carmela, or dig deep, as you would say, Hope, into this subject about success and not as a dichotomous or opposition or the converse or inverse to failure, but as part of this whole journey
Yeah.
of unfolding who we are and accepting failure and success as two sides of the same coin of life.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts so far?
Well, the last one, if we can go back to this demonstration that you had up.
This one right
Um,
here?
yes, was it this one? No, the other one that you just put up for that one. Create a culture of sharing and success and failures.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I want to share about that because that's just so important, especially like you said in working environments or group environments or team environments, because it gives the opportunity for people to
Mm-hmm.
express their stuff and not just the success but express their failures. Sometimes we're so like of course success driven that when we fail we don't have a way to express ourselves about our failure in a
Yeah.
safe environment where people can say, okay, you may have failed or whatever, and kind of bring in that support. But again, it has to be a place that's kind of conducive for that type of atmosphere where people can express about their failures, and then from that be able to provide an opportunity where we can help and support one another even in our failures, not just moments of success but also moments in failure as well.
Mm, mm, insightful. Yes, yes.
Yeah. I agree with that. And to piggyback off of that, one of the things that jumped out on me when I saw that slide was it allows participation when you are talking about your successes, and it allows participation when you talk about your failures, because it allows the group to provide some kind of input on. There may be someone that has a solution that
Mm,
may be able to bring some information to the table to help the whole group. And so when you're talking and celebrating the successes, and while you're celebrating the successes, then you can segue into, okay, so this is how we can make things better. This is what we found that didn't work, and not put it in a manner where it sounds like defeat or anything or pointing fingers, but it allows the group to build rapport so you can recover
mm,
together.
mhm.
So that's what I think teamwork comes in when you allow participation. Somebody in that group or somewhere in the conversation allows us to build some, I guess, some information on how to fix it
Mm,
next time.
mm, mm. Yes, yes. I appreciate all this because we're not only looking at this from a perspective of personal, but it's also, one thing I learned in Forwards of Leadership is that there's personal, interpersonal, managerial, organizational. So in this sense, we're talking about interpersonal successes and failures, personal successes and failures, managerial or supervisory
Mhm.
successes and failures, and then organizational as well.
Right.
At every level or dimension or realm of influence, um, we experience these areas. And so I wanted to just really emphasize this, not just only personal, but again, they're indicators, they're informers, they're inspirers, and the importance of creating a culture of sharing successes and failures.
Yeah.
So let's work on that, T timers. What can we do even more effectively to bring that kind of culture to our organizations or into our families, our personal lives? Monique says, failure is an indicator of an area where we need to grow and learn.
That's right.
It provides an opportunity to see where we need to change or grow. Failure inspires us to desire transformation in areas where growth is necessary. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yes.
again, love to hear from your audience. Tea timers, where your thoughts are again on it as an indicator, informer, and inspired. Please feel free to share with us your thoughts and comments. Aretha says, failure provides information for where area need more attention or support. Thank you so much for sharing that. Tony says also with us, although my marriage failed, the breakup helped me understand that I always need to show up as a good role model to them in terms of relationship with their dad. Thank you for that transparency.
Yeah.
When we begin to look at it, we look at these areas as options, growth, development, expansion. This is wonderful as we're all sharing this evening about ways that, again, the failure are indicators. And just like failure is an indicator or pain, so is success. Success is an indicator. Success is an informer. Success is an inspirer. See, there's no judgment or value, perhaps word to it, because we're growing, we're expanding who we are. And I wanted to start out with this as a way of creating a culture for success and failures. Some more comments coming in. Michelle says, personal response, indicator. I need some work in an area. Informer. I know what I need to work on. Inspire. Fair always inspires me to strive for excellence, like the little engine who could.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that as well with us, Michelle. Again, we're really flowing here this evening. Admitting failure, Nicole says, admitting failure takes a level of honesty and vulnerability that is often painful, but leads to growth. Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone, for sharing this evening perspectives on our renewal practice. So our first renewal practice this evening, again, we started out with creating a culture of sharing. Let's move to this one, but take control of your emotions. When there is a failure, all right? Now, while you don't want to suppress them, you want to control them. In other words, you don't want to get stuck in moodiness. You don't want to get stuck in a negative space because of a failure situation. Why? Because many times negative emotions are more contagious at times.
That's right.
And then as a result, one person says something and then, and as a result of that, it spirals. So again, let's take control of our emotions. Do what you need to do to move on from the disappointment so that you're ready to help yourself or others deal with theirs. That doesn't mean fake it. It doesn't mean suppress. It means take control. I acknowledge it. So two things. Let's do this as an exercise. Some of you already do this. I want you to take a sheet of paper, a clear sheet of paper. On one side, I want you to write, like if you can fold it or maybe just draw a line down the middle of it, horizontal or vertical, however you want to. And one side, I want you to put a plus sign. And the other side, I want you to type or draw a triangle or a delta, which represents change. The left side, when you're dealing with the failure situation, you put the plus there to say what went well, even in the midst of the failure. Mm-hmm. What went well. The other side is about what would I do differently or what would I change. So on one side, you're going to put the plus sign. The other side, you're going to put a triangle or a delta, which represents change. And then you'll ask yourself, what went well? What was positive? What was a growth outcome? What was a positive there? But then on the other side, I will begin to take a look at, what would I do differently? What would I decide differently? What should I do or could I do, right? Because what we're doing is we're assessing not just what's negative. We're now taking a self-reflective, self-assessing opportunity to really document our growth. So we'll take a pause here. I want you to consider this because this is part of us looking at taking control of my emotions, but also I'm able to assess and look at what's working well, and then also really looking at what I could change. Renita shares, I think we have to make opportunities for freeing and open conversations on successes and failure. I have daily chats with my 5-year-old about the highs and lows of her day to show her that it's okay to discuss the difficulties of the day, as well as the good parts of the day. I share about my highs and my lows to show her it's okay to talk about it, and we all experience it. Thank you for sharing that healthy practice. Awesome. If you were free, I'd say come on right now, talk with us live. I'll catch you the next time.
Come on.
Tony says, yep, I have to take control of my emotions as a role model for my girls. And I want to encourage everyone as we're thinking about this, taking control of your emotions is saying, is also asking the question, why do I feel the way I feel? Why do I feel the way I feel? And then sitting around enough to answer that question. All right. It is important that we're able to do just that. So I wanted to just bring that up as part of our renewal practice and you might already do that in your practice as well. But I think, having that sheet, I do that a lot of times after meetings, after I do a self-assessment, maybe when I reacted the way I shouldn't have, and like, okay, I just go there and say what went well and what I need to change. And then I work on accountability or actions or decisions or thoughts or choices to improve, to grow, to expand. But I don't meddle in it. I don't stay in it. I don't stay stuck, right? Because again, taking control is not about suppressing what we feel. It's also about, and it's not about faking as much as it is about acknowledging, being aware, and then moving to the place of growth. So I'm going to pause here. Hope, any thoughts on that? Carmela, any thoughts on that? Tea timers, what are your thoughts on this? We're going to take our time with our tea time renewal practices this evening. This is one of those subjects, right? So, any thoughts?
I like the exercise of the plus and delta. I was sitting here thinking, well, how can I apply that? When you make mistakes or you're in that role or something concerning failure, and you're looking at it. I was looking at it like, for instance, you studied for an exam. You really studied hard, or you're taking a test, or you're going through a process or something like that, and you didn't pass it. And you're like, okay. I like the part of the delta side because it opens up a space for strategy. Like, well, okay, then what can I do what can I do? What have I learned from this, and how can I change this? What in what areas and what strategy? What can I apply? How can I start looking up things to fix this? And I like this because not only are you using it in a group setting, but you're actually using it in your own personal life on how to shift when you're in that place of trying to when you're trying to control your emotions concerning failure.
I'm taking some notes. Good stuff.
I like that.
Yeah. Hope, any thoughts?
Just the point that you brought out was the basic of why do I feel the way I feel, and that's a point of awareness. And even with these categories and being aware, we're able to understand growth, understand moving forward. But it's always, as far as your emotions, just being able to be aware of what you feel and at that particular moment. And for me, why do I feel this way?
Right.
And then the moving forward is, what can I do next time to ensure a more positive or more healthy mindset of why I feel the way I feel. And being aware of how I feel, which makes it better for me. When I'm aware of how I feel, then I'm able to understand my emotions and control them better, and use more, wisdom and moving forward with my emotions, especially when it comes to, failures or successes, as well. Even on the success side, it's kind of like sometimes, even though in those instances, maybe hard to embrace success because we've had so many failures. And then, so just being aware of where I am, why I feel the way I feel, and then how can I grow, move forward, and develop a more positive and more affirming mindset regarding, my emotional state.
Thank you. As I was listening to both of you share, and we were going through this, I also wanted to share with everyone, in addition to these practices, is don't be so quick to make a value judgment about yourself as well. Because again, failures and successes, all highs are followed up by lows. Okay. All lows are followed up by highs. So we don't want to find our value in that, because we also know people who are successful but ignore advice. So it's important that we also ask ourselves why, because we don't want to be victims, or shall I say, of overconfidence bias. And so it's important that we are able to do that. But that's something that I'm learning as well, because we all have our biases. So it's important that we're able to do that. So wanted to just emphasize that as far as a renewal practice, take control of your emotions, why you feel the way you feel, but also ask yourself this question. Here's the next question behind this is, where did that thought come from?
That's good.
So if I'm asking myself why I feel the way I feel, that's one question. But then the other question is, where did the thought come from? Where did it originate from? Why am I thinking that way? So all those are critical ways of assessing or evaluating or looking at where I am in my renewal practice as it relates to rebounding, recovering, restoring from a failure situation. All right. Now, here's the next one. Be clear about what went wrong. Be clear about what went wrong. Don't resort to corporate speak. Don't sugarcoat it, in other words. Be very clear about what went wrong.
That's good.
Sugarcoating doesn't help. It doesn't provide nutritional value. Okay? About yourself. So, again, be clear. Emphasize the word clear. All right? Don't just say, oh, a mistake was made. Say, I missed the deadline because I was late for getting some papers in. I'm just honest. I was. I can't just say, oh, I made a mistake. I was late because. And here's why I was late. And so because I recognize I was late because that helps me course correct. But I just say, oh, I made a mistake. That's not clear enough. That's too generic. It's too general. And it doesn't put it right there in front of my face so that I can make the course corrections. Does that make sense? So, I was upset at myself. I was bothered, frustrated. Then I had to take a step back and say, okay, well, why you late, bro? I mean, why did you turn in late? Why did you not, and as I did that, not that I was beating myself up, even though I was disappointed, and there's nothing wrong with the emotional state, right? There's nothing wrong with having the thought process. But as I did that, then I began to think, what do I need to do to recover from turning this late?
Taking accountability.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Being answerable and accountable. And when you focus on the facts, it's not demotivating. When you focus on the facts, you just look at it and say, okay, I was like, all right, now that's a fact that I did this. And now, since that's the fact, it keeps me from letting the thoughts and the emotions overcome the failure, the experience of failure. All right. Because I'm focusing on facts. All right. So I wanted us to really think through this as far as it relates to being clear about what went wrong. I'd like to ask the audience as well, T-Timers, what are your thoughts on the renewal practice so far this evening about recovering, rebounding from failure? What are some of your thoughts on our perspectives this evening about creating a culture of sharing success and failure, or your thoughts on taking control of your emotions? And also your perspective on this. Why is it important to be clear, based upon what we just shared, about what went wrong, which leads us to our next point, but don't point fingers.
Wow.
See, it's more important to focus on what is to blame versus who is to blame. What's to blame? In other words, not who, but what. In a team context, what is to blame? Why? And then in our own personal failure, we look at, okay, I have to look at me and then look at my decisions and my choices and my outcomes. So that helps us self-regulate who we are, and we're around other people who do the same. So I'm just going to pause here, hear some thoughts from our T-timers, and I hope I see you kind of pausing there. Mel, I see you shaking your head. Anything jumping out to you as it relates to the subject matter of being clear about what went wrong, and then, but don't point fingers?
Well, yeah, that I would like to share with that. With that, first thing that came to mind was to take time to reflect. Sometimes we want to answer or get to something quick, but it may take time to reflect on the series of events that have taken place. And so we understand that even with the pointing of the finger, none of us, we are not perfect. We are imperfect and will make those particular mistakes. In those particular places, we're being mindful for me of showing myself grace. And in showing myself grace, I'm able to see what went wrong and how I can move forward. But in those particular times when things have gone wrong, I'm intentional about taking time to reflect upon it. I'm doing it for myself. It's not a time clock or not anything to find out, I have to do it in this amount of time, but being aware of being intentional about, taking that time so that I can have clarity on what went wrong and then giving myself grace to be able to move forward, in improvement and growth, and development and understanding who I am and taking accountability. And so when taking accountability, there has to be a moment of reflection of what you need to take accountability for and how if accountability was missed, what happened in the series of events that caused me to miss the accountability or responsibility that needed to take place in certain situations.
All this insight that's coming.
Yeah,
it's good. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to bring up a few more comments here, and then Carmel, I'm going to pass it over to you as well. Hey, Dad, Dr. Paul Brown. Failure is not fatal. One can begin again. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. Charlisa says here, understanding the course of action taken and the role that I played is critical. And I just wanted to reiterate that again. Hope just said, take time to reflect. Absolutely. She also said, show yourself grace. Want to remind ourselves of that. Monique says here, I think it's a good idea to share our successes and failures because it creates a safe space to be vulnerable and recognize we all have failures. It also provides opportunities to learn from others and how to move forward. Thank you for sharing that. Tony says, being clear about what went wrong and the part I played in it helps me tackle the root of the behavior that needs improvement. Absolutely. And yes, Michelle reiterates what you said there, hope grace to self. Yes and yes. Carmela, any thoughts?
Yes, I was thinking about the recovery and resiliency part. There's an element of that because as Hope was saying about giving us grace, I was just thinking about that. There's a part of self-compassion that we could bring into the whole situation, and it opens us up for self-correct instead of sometimes, when we're pointing the finger that way, but sometimes we're doing it like this too. And allowing ourselves grace is giving us ourselves self-compassion when we do get in that place so that we can redirect. As Dr. Brown has said, it's not fatal, it's not final. You can turn it around, you can redirect yourself. And that goes back to the part where you were talking about those three parts: indicator, informer, and then the inspire. The inspirational part is, what can I do better next time? How can I do better? Because then you do a mind shift and shift the way you think about the whole thing and allow yourself some kind of self-compassion to move forward and try again.
Thank you. Thank you. Some good nuggets folks are sharing this evening in our Renewal practices. We're almost done. Stay with us. I hope this is helping. I hope these Renewal practices are helping you with renewal perspectives. Renita says also, you mentioned about the source of our thoughts. I think our thoughts that we associate with our failures come from a number of places, including our personal experiences, what people have spoken to us or in our lives, and societal norms, culture. It's a process to move away from others' views and establish our own personal views of success, failures, so we can grow and move forward. I hope this makes sense. A lot of activity out there. Take care and keep still. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. And I'm so glad we started out by defining success and failure and describing what that looks like in our lives, that we can, really focus on as it relates to our own growth models. And Carmela, you just mentioned about self-compassion. You also talked about the importance of where are we pointing our fingers. All right. And so that's important to be able to have an understanding of where we're pointing our fingers. And I also like to say this, be tough on the issue, but easy on the person. Yes. Even in your teams, be tough on the issue, but easy on the person. And so that helps you learn how to be tough on your own issues and easy on yourself. Okay. When you put that in motion, Because many times, generally, when people are tough on people and easy on the issues, it's because they're so tough on themselves already. And so I think it's important that we learn how to have some balance in that as it relates to failure. All right, let's keep moving forward with a few more of these renewal practices. Stay with us if you don't mind. Appreciate it. Talked about bundle point fingers. Lastly, shift the mood and tell a story.
I love that.
Okay, now when we talk about shift the mood, after we've taken a look at where we are, we want to be able to say, now let's talk about what comes next. That's what this means. Now let's discuss what comes next after we analyzed it enough, because y'all know y'all like to analyze out there. And so you break it down to the point where there's a nook and cranny and a morsel of the entire experience. We just keep breaking it down and replaying it. Some of us replay it so much, we're driving on the interstate, replaying full conversations about failure or something that happened. And we just talking, and folks probably looking at you driving in the car like, what's going on with them? Okay. So let's think about that when we are looking at it to the point where we have to ask ourselves the question. If you write this down, what comes next? Go ahead and put that in the comments, everybody. What comes next? What we mean by telling a story is allowing space for others to share in the conversation about where we are and what comes next. Because there is a solution in the building. There is a solution in the conversation and in the space because everybody belongs there. So again, I just want us to adopt this as a practice is, again, shift the mood by saying, okay, what comes next? What comes next? That's useful, to look at it. And this helps us with open-minded thinking. It helps us become more strategic. It helps us move forward with effective approaches for the next steps. And it helps you lighten the mood. Okay, we listen, we learn, but we also lighten the mood as well. All right, so this is important that we're able to do that. So I wanted us to be able to look at that. Now I have one last renewal practice that might be a little longer, but just stay with me for a few moments. And perhaps we'll revisit this at another time. But I wanted to think through, because all this hinges on resilient thinking. So on the left side, there's cause-oriented thinking. On the right side, there's response-oriented thinking. So many times you can look at a failure situation and say, okay, what's the cause? Or what's my response to it? So in a control perspective, I ask myself this question, and I really want you to sit with these as we come to the end of our renewal practice for this evening. Was this adverse event or situation inevitable? Or could I have prevented it? That's the cause question. The response question of control is, what features of the situation can I improve? So we have a cause-oriented thought process in one area. In the other area, there's a response-oriented thought process that says, what features of the situation can I even potentially improve? Because there are things that we can control. There are things that we can influence as it relates to failure. I hope everybody's pausing and thinking on this. Second point is impact. All right, this is resilient thinking. So hopefully you're getting this down. Resilient thinking, the impact is asking the question, did I cause the event or situation? Or did it result from external sources? That's the cause-oriented question. Think about a recent failure experience that you may have had. And ask yourself the questions on the left side. Did I cause the event? Did it result from external sources? Or the response. What sort of positive impact can I personally have on what happens next? You see what you just did? You adopted a response-oriented thinking to the failure. And I want you to think about this from a personal level, an interpersonal level, a managerial level, an organizational level, because this helps us with recovery and rebounding and restoring from failures that we experience. All right, I'll bring this up one more time. And as I'm bringing this up, Camilla, I see you over there like, So,
just taking
it in. Go ahead and share, please.
Oh, I'm just really taking all of this in because this is almost like a step by step to help you really move from those mistakes, and these are really good. I'm just really just gleaning from all of this.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Thoughts from the audience? Tea time. Let us know your thoughts on the resilient thinking process. And we're looking at this because as we're closing out our tea time this evening, just a few more minutes, want you to consider. We started out by describing failure, defining failure, how it looks in our lives. We talked through the whole focus and emphasis on creating a culture of sharing, which is what we're doing right now. Everybody is sharing. We're all sharing, whether we're sharing privately, whether we're sharing with, maybe you're watching with someone and you're having this discussion. Maybe you're watching the replay or you're thinking about your teams, but we're sharing. That's the key thing. We're establishing a culture of it, but we're also learning to take control of our emotions and ask ourselves the questions, where did that thought come from? Because that's important as well. Then on the other side, am I clear about what went wrong? In other words, there's accuracy. Just like the example I gave, I made a mistake. Well, no, I turned it in late, and here's why. That's clearing. That's not being generic about it. Then we talked about, but don't point fingers. And then we had some thoughts around that. Pointing fingers at ourselves, being tough on the issue, easy on the person. And then we ended out by shifting the mood and telling a story. So I think it's important that we really take a step back and look at our thinking, cause-oriented and response-oriented. I'm going to leave that up there for you to really process this. Control, impact, and then breadth. Is the underlying cause of this specific to me? Or is it more widespread? So when you ask the questions on the left side, that helps you look at failure from a perspective of cause. Mm-hmm. On the right side, that helps you focus on response. How can I contain the negatives of the situation and generate currently unseen positives? See the empowerment that takes place in the response area? Yeah. So we get a root in the other side and fruit on the other side. One is a root question. The other one is a fruit question. Where can it go? How we can advance? And then the fourth area would be duration. Is the underlying cause this event enduring, or is it temporary? Is this something that's going to be long lasting, or can I make a different choice in the decision? What can I do to begin addressing the problem right now? That produces a ripple effect. All right, so I've said a lot. Let's take a pause here and locate ourselves one more time with this. And I know we're just about to wrap up here for tea time this evening, but wanted to hear from you tea timers, your thoughts on this thinking about cause-oriented and response-oriented. One is root, the other is fruit. Hope any thoughts on that? Anything jumping out to you from that? Any thoughts? Ready? Okay. Just want to give you an opportunity. It's a lot of reflective thinking, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good.
Good.
Okay, I want to bring this up one more time for our tea timers. And I'd like you as tea timers to take a look at this last slide for our renewal practice this evening, and perhaps think through the root side, control, impact, breadth, and duration, and then look at the fruit side and think about these questions. And we'll post these on the Renewal Center page. I think that would be good for us to take a look at this, and you can go through this again, perhaps as a follow-up to our tea time today. Was this adverse situation inevitable? Could I have prevented it? Sometimes I say, yeah, I could have. Mm-hmm. But I didn't. So what features of the situation can I improve?
Yeah.
I'm just going to use myself as the example.
It's a good.
What could I have prevented turning my paper in late? The answer is yes. However, was this adverse situation inevitable? No, it was not. It was not inevitable because I made a decision. So, what features of the situation can I even potentially improve? Well, Hope talked about awareness. Carmela, you talked about accountability. Okay, I have both of those. Now, I think another A would be good. Action. Let's add that. So now there's some action that I need to take place. I don't want to be aware and not take action. I don't want to be accountable and not take action. So this addresses the action part. What I can do now moves me into the realm of owning where I am, but I'm still tough on the issue. So let's do one more round robin about just our practices this evening. Carmela, if you want to share, and Hope you can share, and then hopefully we'll hear from comments from the audience, their takeaways from this last part of the renewal practice as well. So Carmela, go ahead.
Well, I like this topic because everyone has experienced some level of feeling, having failure or mistakes and things like that. And I like the fact that we have these renewal practices in these 3 areas that focus on resiliency and building resiliency and recovery. These 3 areas helped us. We all, even our Tea Time community chimed in and shared what the indicators really meant and what it meant to be inspired and informed around what really happened and what am I learning and how am I growing through this painful experience. I'm really appreciating all of this. And then all of the different things that you've shared. One of the things that stuck out the most was the delta and the plus, like I said. And that allows us to take a minute in our personal lives too, and use this as a grid to help us when we get into those tight spots and things like that. So I really am gleaning a lot, like I said, from all of what we're learning tonight. And so that's what I want to share, my takeaway.
Thank you. Hope.
Well, I just want to say this has been really great. This has been phenomenal. We've had some great engagement this evening from our Tea Time community. And for me, my takeaway is, remaining in a place of, building resilience in these types of situations and how to move forward. I think the Renewal Center practices that were shared tonight, if we put them to work, like you said, of action, then you'll be able to see the results of what, moving forward in a better way. So just for me, being more intentional of aware and how to take action and moving forward in my successes and my failures, and knowing and also extending grace to myself and others as well in their failures. So this has been really great. I love the last slide because it just gave us the opportunity to have that resilient thinking. And we know that Tea Time is all about building resilience. And so I hope that that we shared tonight will definitely impact our Tea Time community in building resilience. This is great, and I'm glad that we're going to post it so that we can take a moment to reflect and even journal about what we see there and expound on it as well.
Thank you. This has been very rich. I'd like to hear from the audience. What are your takeaways, applications, some insights from our renewal practices this evening? Dr. Brown is sharing something with us. After careful consideration of the cause, taking the correct next steps will determine how successful I am in clearing the cause of the issue and moving steadily forward. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Brown. Michelle says, I've been reflecting on the inspiring part. It's what I do for self and others daily, but it's because I used to be super hard on myself and in my head to the point it would make me ill. Thank you for sharing that transparency as well. This is freeing for all of us because we're looking at this with no judgment. We're looking back at ourselves and saying, being tough on the issue, easy on the person. Love to hear from more of you as well. Your thoughts on all of our renewal practices this evening. We'd like to share those with the Tea Time community. As we're doing that, I just wanted to also give you an opportunity for those of you that may be in the Concord, Charlotte area. We want to invite you to the Renewal Center. We are at 159 Church Street in the historic district of Concord. We'd love to see you there. Come to our thought room, our art room, our voice room, our action room. Sit on our porch. It's getting warm. This will be a lovely time for you to make a visit. If you're passing even through North Carolina, we want to encourage you. We have our tea times generally on Tuesdays at noon. We did a little change today, and grateful that you're all able to be a part of our tea time. But also our focus is we have another part of our vision, which is about renewing minds, restoring lives as well. And so this is what this expression of that is for tea time. It's over 2 years now we've been doing this, and this has been really rich. Want to provide you with an opportunity to be a partner with the Renewal Center. These are ways that you can donate to the Renewal Center as a nonprofit organization. First thing we ask you to do before you hang up this evening, download our mobile app. All right? Download our mobile app. You can read our blog, our motivational content, our digital content. You can go to our website right now at www.therenewalcenters.com/give. We are a nonprofit organization, and we thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your donations. You can text to give to us as well. If you text Renewal Center to that number there, 888-364-4483. Also, PayPal and Zelle are the Renewal Center 2020 at Gmail. We also receive CashApp at Cash Renewal Center and Venmo at Renewal Center. You can also mail your check to P.O. Box 1381, Concord, North Carolina 28026. So as in honor of our Giving Tuesday, it's important that we share this with you for the Renewal Center. So just wanted to bring that up to you as we honor our Giving Tuesday. Thank you for your donation. Thank you for your partnership. And we'll bring this back up one more time before we close out. Let's see what other comments we got going on here. All right, can you put the call slide up so I can take a screenshot? Tony, we can do that. Hold on one moment. I'll bring that back up right up for you. Just a second here. Hopefully you're talking about this one right here. There you go. Cause-oriented thinking, which is root. Response-oriented thinking, which is fruit. All right. Hopefully that was helpful. Yeah. And again, just want to encourage everyone. We have one more announcement I want to share with you. Of course, we have our tea times each Tuesday at 12. Our fourth tea time generally is at 7 p.m., but we shifted a little bit today. We have our Reforming Culture, which is first, second, and third Wednesdays at 7:30. So please feel free to download our mobile app. You can register for the Reforming Culture class. We've got 3 more Wednesdays, and we've been studying actually from the book of Ephesians, and we'll be closing that out this month of May. Wow, the year has gone by that quickly. And so we'd love you to participate in at least our last 3 months. For those of you that are reformers, we look forward to seeing you being part of that. And then lastly, I'd like for both of you, Carmela and Hope, one of our renewers, Monique Jackson, has a ministry called Kingdom at Work. And I want to bring up just her banner for what she does on Wednesdays. Yes. And I think that we can speak to that, especially for those of you that are busy at work. So I'll bring this up. So this is Monique Jackson. She has Kingdom at Work. And each Wednesday at noon, she has Winning Wednesday. It's about 30 minutes. And, this is good for those of you that are busy, you're working. You need some principles on how to be effective in the work that you do. So Hope, Carmela, if you can just maybe speak to this really briefly, I'd love to hear from you as we bring this up.
Well, for me, I have since coming on to Winning Wednesdays, I'm definitely excited to be on. It gives an opportunity to just be able to have a forum where we can talk and discuss, especially during, our, work time, and the opportunity to be in an atmosphere where we're sharing different things regarding helping us, balance some things out on work and things like that. So this has been really good. I've definitely enjoyed being on Winning Wednesdays, and I try to make it a point to be there every Wednesday, depending on my schedule with work, on Winning Wednesdays.
Yes, and I'm excited about Winning Wednesdays. It's a time to get some really great principles. Joining others during the workday. It's a great time during the workday. and, able to get some great principles from Apostle Monique's devotional book, and how to navigate through the work days, a lot of different things. So even the last one that she just gave, it was just really informative, and it really charged me to have a really effective day, to go on with a great day. So I encourage everyone to join Apostle Monique's Winning Wednesdays. It's a great time to come in and just get some great information on how to shift the way you are during your workday.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And again, thank you both for sharing. We just wanted to bring that up for those of you. Wednesday might be busy other days, but you need encouragement, you need inspiration, you need information to help you navigate your workday. I'm going to check back in the comments to see if anybody else has shared any takeaways from this evening. Sia Charlisa says, thank you for another thought-provoking session tonight. You are most welcome. And thank you for participating in Tea Time as well. Dr. Brown, thank you. You're welcome as well. We're going to keep pressing. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Tony. Hopefully you got the slide. And yes, we have made it with Reforming Culture 3 more Wednesdays. All right. Well, again, thanks, everybody. As we say here, take care of each other. And I am Renewal. And thanks, everyone, for being a part of our Tea Time this evening. I'm going to bring up the slides again for those of you who would like to donate to the Renewal Center and support our mission and our vision. I want to give you an opportunity for that. And we'll post some of this content a little bit later. And for those of you watching the replay, hopefully you'll begin to look at your successes and your failures and recognize they're there to inspire you, indicate things in your life, and bring information to you. So again, you're welcome, Renita. Thanks for being a part. All right, everyone, let's take a moment to locate ourselves as we close out. See you next week.